Hi, everyone. I am so glad that you're here today because we're going to be diving into a topic that I know hits home for many of us. Waking up in the middle of the night, especially around 3 a.m., and not being able to go back to sleep. Um, I know there are a ton of people out there that can relate to this one. And I just want to say, have you been there? You go to bed exhausted, you wake up staring at the ceiling in the middle of the night with your mind racing, your body tense, and that dreaded feeling of, oh no, here we go again. Well, you're not broken, you're not crazy, and you're definitely not alone. This is something I see all the time with the women that I work with, especially the women who are juggling work, family, hormones, and everything in between. I'm April Blackford, and I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and I specialize in helping women struggling with hormone imbalances and gut health. So, today, let's talk about why you're waking up at 3 a.m. and first, let's talk about what is actually happening in your body. So the first reason is cortisol spikes, and also the cortisol is also known as the stress hormone. So the cortisol spikes are known as the stress hormone alarm clock. So your body has an internal rhythm called our circadian rhythm, and your cortisol, which is the stress hormone, should be the highest in the mornings to help us wake up and the lowest at night so that we can sleep and rest. But when we're under chronic stress, like mental, emotional, even physical stress, your body can get the message that it's in danger even when you're lying in bed. So, in turn, it ends up pumping out cortisol in the middle of the night, usually around 2 to 4 a.m. And that's why you wake up suddenly with your heart racing, mind spinning, or even feeling anxious for no obvious reason. Um, Curious if anybody is watching this and they've been there, make a note in the comments, because just curious as to who can actually relate to this. The second reason is blood sugar dips, or let's just say blood sugar crash. Um, Another big one is unstable blood sugar, and I see this a ton. And I actually have experimented with myself, and this made a huge difference for me. If you're not eating enough throughout the day, or if you're skipping meals, you're running on caffeine, or you're eating mostly carbs without protein, then your blood sugar can drop too low in the middle of the night. When that happens, guess what? Your body sends out adrenaline and cortisol to bring your blood sugar back up, and again, boom, you're wide awake. So it's essentially it's just like a vicious cycle. I've had clients literally stop waking up at 3 a.m. just by adjusting their macros and adding a small protein-based snack before bed. Like it really does not have to be complicated. It could be something super, super simple. Okay. So the third reason is the 2 to 3 a.m. is your liver's night shift. So this one might sound a little woo-woo, but it actually has a lot of merit to it. So, according to traditional Chinese medicine, your liver is the organ that goes to work between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. And if your liver's overburdened, maybe from toxins, alcohol, stress, inflammation, medications, then it may struggle to do its job effectively, and that can show up as middle of the night wake ups. So you kind of your liver's working a little too hard here. Now, let's talk about the stress sleep loop. Basically, I call this the stress sleep spiral. You're stressed all day, cortisol stays high, you finally crash into bed, but your brain hasn't gotten the memo. It's still in the go mode. You fall asleep from pure exhaustion, but then cortisol rises again, and around 3 a.m., you're up to go. If this happens to you often, you're likely spending most of the night in light sleep and never fully getting into that deep healing REM and delta sleep that our bodies truly need. So, in turn, you wake up tired, you rely on more caffeine, your stress builds, and it just creates like a vicious cycle. It's just a negative feedback loop that just continues to go on. So I want to kind of tell a little story. Tell you about one of my clients. I'm gonna call her Lisa. Don't want to give out any names. I call her Lisa. She's 44 years old, working long hours, balancing teenagers, a career, aging parents, and barely has time to eat most days. So Lisa was waking up every single night at 3 a.m. without fail. Sometimes with hot flashes, sometimes with anxiety, and sometimes just wide awake for no real reason. So in turn, we ran some functional labs and saw elevated cortisol at night and blood sugar instability. And her gut was also not in great shape. So in turn, we focused on supporting her adrenals, regulating her meals and snacks, and we created a wind down routine and also supported her liver detox gently with herbs and food. And literally within 3 to 4 weeks, she started sleeping through the night again for the first time in years, like years and years. So, yes, it's fixable with the right approach. Now, what can you do? Here's the top 6 fixes that I recommend starting with, simple but powerful shifts that you can actually try today. So the first one is balance your blood sugar all day. So basically eat to keep your blood sugar balanced all day. So you want to eat every 3 to 4 hours. Focus on having protein plus fat plus fiber at all meals. Cut the caffeine on an empty stomach. This actually wrecks blood sugar and cortisol. So don't drink coffee on an empty stomach. Even if you just add some collagen or a half a scoop of protein powder to it, that's better than just plain coffee. Um, Never eat naked carbs. So do not eat carbs alone. Always pair it with a protein if you can, and avoid carbs in that last meal of the day. I personally found that just by removing those carbs at the last meal of the day, I literally, well, I cut the wake up time, but I also cut the night sweats, just like disappeared, by doing that. Um, so instead, try a small protein snack before bed. If you tend to wake up at 3 a.m., it could be something simple like almond butter on a rice cake, a single hard boiled egg, a turkey roll up. It really does not have to be something big or doesn't have to be complicated. So the second thing that you can do is uh, nervous system support before bed. So if you've watched any of my videos, I do talk a lot about reducing stress. I do talk about nervous system regulation. So nervous system support before bed is another good tactic that you can work on. Do the 4-7-8 breathing or box breathing before sleep. And if you're unfamiliar with that, it's like take in a deep breath counting to 4, try to hold the breath for 7 seconds, and then exhale for 8 seconds, and then repeat. Basically, it's like slow, deep, intense breathing. Another thing that you can do is add in magnesium glycinate or L-theanine. L-theanine is great for stress and sleep overall. And magnesium glycinate is one of the most easily absorbed magnesium that there is. And the third thing that you can do is legs up the wall for 5 minutes. So 5 minutes before bed, your spouse might think you're a little you're a little off your rocker, but who cares if it improves your sleep? Legs up the wall for 5 minutes can help shift you back into that parasympathetic state mode, which the parasympathetic mode is the rest and digest mode, whereas the sympathetic mode is kind of the like you're ready to take on the stress. So the legs up the wall for 5 minutes. The third thing that you can do is ditch the blue light and the caffeine trap. So turn off screens, no screens at least 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Or if you can't do that, then go on Amazon and buy some cheap blue light blocking glasses and wear those. Wear those if you're going to watch a show before bed or you're going to stare at your iPad or your phone or whatever. Um, and also no caffeine after 2 p.m. Caffeine lingers in your system longer than you think. So you don't want to contribute to anything that's going to keep you awake if you struggle with going back to sleep. So the fourth thing is build a consistent wind down routine. So make it a routine. Take a warm bath or a hot shower before bed. Journal or brain dump your thoughts. This one is actually one that helps me because I used to wake up in the middle of the night, wake up to go to the bathroom at 3 a.m., And then I go get back in the bed and then my brain turns on and I'm trying to solve all the world's problems. And you're thinking about this and you're thinking about that. And I found that doing the brain dumping or journaling before bed, it kind of like subconsciously gets those things off of your mind. So in turn, you're not, it's not weighing on you. So that seems to help. Use lavender oil or sleepy time tea like chamomile works really, really well. And then also dim the lights. Lights tell your brain it's still daytime, so dim the lights and that will actually kind of reset and, let your body know it's kind of time to wind down. And then the fifth thing would be support your cortisol rhythm. So if you want a natural, healthy circadian rhythm, you want to get morning sunlight within 30 to 60 minutes of waking. So try to get out for a morning walk in the sunlight if you can. Go for a walk in natural light. This helps lower nighttime cortisol naturally. And then you can use adaptogens like ashwagandha, holy basil, and different adaptogens can really make a difference. I will add in that make sure that you're using guidance from a practitioner or your doctor if you do add anything like that in. And the sixth thing would be support gentle detox. You want to drink filtered water, eat bitter foods like arugula, dandelion, and lemon. Those are all great for stimulating and helping the liver dump. Incorporate detox teas like dandelion tea, milk thistle tea. Those are great. Just a cup of daily herbal tea like dandelion or milk thistle can make a big difference. Also, if you're able to sweat daily, sweating is great for detox. So sweat daily if possible. And lastly, cut alcohol if possible because it disrupts our REM and actually messes with our liver. A lot of people don't realize, and I've worked with clients for a long time, and I used to always hear it of I would have a nightly glass of wine or a glass of bourbon before bed because it helps me relax and then I end up sleeping better. But the reality is that's just mental. It may mentally help you relax because it's a depressant, but alcohol ends up sending you. So basically, you end up going into that REM too soon. So you end up waking earlier. So you're not rested and you add in the dehydration factor and, anyway. Now, what can you do in the moment if you wake up at 3 a.m.? So let's say you're like, okay, all right, April, I tried all these things, still didn't work. What can I do when I actually wake up at 3 a.m.? So the first thing, and I set this rule about 1 to 2 years ago. Um, Anytime I break the rule, it ruins me that night. But once I implemented this rule and I kept to it, it really made a big positive difference. Is do not check the clock. Don't look at the time. This creates a mental stress loop. It's 3:21 again. I have a rule. I cannot look at the clock, and this is why. If I if I look at the clock and I see the time, then I just start stressing out because I think I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got 2 hours to sleep before I get up, and it's gonna take me an hour to go back to sleep. And by the time I go back to sleep, there's no point in going back to sleep, and blah blah blah, whatever. So that was just creating a huge mental stress loop by looking at the clock. So I have the rule I still always get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, but I do not look at the clock. I have the rule, don't look at the clock, and I actually turn my clock away from me towards the wall so I cannot see it, even when I do get up and go to the restroom. Um, and then if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're wide awake, get out of bed, sit in a chair, read something boring, or do some light stretching. Like sometimes just sitting there and you're wide awake can actually be worse than just actually getting up and doing something. Um, I would suggest no scrolling, no email, no TV, because all of this is going to spike your cortisol, and then the blue light's going to kind of trigger your brain and say, oh, okay, it's time to wake up. And then you can also like just tell your nervous system that you're safe. Slow breathing, hands on the heart, or even repeating a mantra like, I am safe. It's okay to rest. You can go back to sleep. um, Another method that I used for a while and it really made a difference was because I would try the whole counting sheep that never works. If any of y'all, have struggled with the whole wake up in the middle of the night, you literally have tried everything. I tried the county sheep, didn't work. There was a couple of things. I saw this on Instagram and I tried it, and this has been a couple years ago, and it actually worked pretty well. Was you do the ABC game. ABC game, I would go down the alphabet and think of like men or women's names that start with A, B, C, all the way up through the alphabet. But then I would turn around and go back. I would do it with names, and I did it with food. So types of food, go up the alphabet and go back down. And then also, if that didn't work, which that seemed to work better than the counting would count back from 100. So count backwards from 100, starting at 100. And what it does is it actually tires the brain without overstimulating the brain. So it ends up tiring the brain without overstimulating it and basically making you think, oh, okay, it's time to get up. So, listen, waking up at 3 a.m. does not mean that your body's broken. It means that your body is trying to talk to you. It's asking for support, not more hustle. So it's just a matter of you listening to it. It's time that we stop pushing through and start listening. So, if this resonated with you today and you're waking up exhausted, stressed, wired but tired, I'd love to support you. Drop a comment or send me a message, and we can take a look at your stress response, your hormones, your gut health, your sleep routines, and get to the root cause of why you're waking up. Till next time, see you later.